Nick Saban shook up the college football world with his retirement, decision that we kind of knew was coming, but at the same time, I think a lot of people were surprised that he did it. We'll take a look at the 10 candidates that could replace him at Alabama. Lane Kiffin is a really fun coach, definitely one that brings attention to the program, and I think that he would be a good fit for what Alabama is going to do. He's good at getting talent. He also kind of understands the younger generation in terms of how they view certain programs. And I think he would make Alabama a little bit different, but he also brings a lot of serious skills to this program. You look at what he's been able to do offensively, his ability to recruit both high school and the transfer portal. Now you give him access to better players. You get 4 and 5 star kids out of high school instead of having to rely so heavily on the transfer portal. But you also know that he will use the portal to get guys on campus. Dabo Swinney is another one where you look at what he's done at Clemson, and obviously lately it hasn't been that impressive. The former Alabama player could come back to Tuscaloosa and take over a program. Now you'd like to see him obviously use the transfer portal a little bit more. And it's the nice thing is that Alabama didn't heavily use the transfer portal, but they did utilize it. So Sweeney would definitely have to change his ways. He would definitely have to look in the portal for talent to fill some holes, and he can build his program his way still. He can still get the same kind of guys he would get at Clemson, but now you're able to kind of turn a page and potentially make you better as a coach, but also give you or give Tuscaloosa and give Alabama fans someone that they know they probably can trust and someone they know would do a good job. Kalen DeBoer is coming off obviously a disappointing loss in the national championship game, and his offensive mind would be welcomed in Alabama. If you look at what I just think of putting him with Jalen Milroe, I think that would be really exciting, assuming Milroe stays, obviously. But I think Kalen DeBoer has a great mind. He knows how to win, first of all. He also knows how to recruit. He knows how to build a program, and he's done it at multiple stops. You look at where he is at Washington, and next year is going to be a step back year. It's not going to be a huge step back, but they will definitely take a step back in terms of winning. So maybe you give a fresh start to both Alabama and himself. I think that he'd be a really, really fun coach to watch for Alabama, and I think that he brings a lot to the table that Crimson Tide fans would love. Alabama fans should be familiar with Steve Sarkisian, with what he did for the Crimson Tide, produced one of the best offenses that we've seen in college football, and I think that bringing him to Alabama would be a great choice. Obviously, it depends on if Sarkisian wants to come over from Texas. I think Texas is in a good position with him running the show. So you'd be kind of starting over at Alabama. You'd also be leaving a good situation at Texas, but it is Alabama. Alabama obviously has a special place in college football, and Steve Sarkisian could be considering that despite his success, and I think what his situation is at Texas. The name that a lot of people are throwing around is Dan Lanning, the Oregon head coach. Obviously had tremendous success this year, a 12-2 finish for the Oregon Ducks was a good year, and there's a lot of reasons why they think that he will stay. I think it'll take the right offer. You obviously have a huge buyout in place. He's also doing a lot of really good things in Oregon. I think he's building a really great program. And there, I think the one thing with him is he a good coach? So far, it looks that way, but can he do it over the long term? And the tough part with this Alabama job is a lot of people are going to expect the same. And following Nick Saban isn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be easy for anybody that follows him. And typically when you follow a head coach of this magnitude, you're going to struggle. You're going to fail to meet expectations, which then resets the market, resets the fan base's mindset. Because right now, everyone expects them to continue competing for national championships. And if you don't meet that mark, then obviously you're in trouble. But Dan Lanning is someone who I think if you're giving him that amount of talent and the ability to recruit, I think he can do that at Oregon. But also, if he's thinking that Alabama is the better option for him, then this is a potential landing spot. Now, 5 others that are probably going to get mentioned, maybe not as seriously as the other ones. First one is Mike Norvell. Now, while a lot of people have varying opinions on Mike Norvell and what he's done at Florida State, he is a good football coach. He is a good program builder. He's done it at Memphis. He's done it at Florida State. So he is a proven leader, a proven head coach that would be a great fit. You also bring a great offensive mind, probably brings Alex Atkins with him. And I think that gives you an upgrade on the offensive side of the ball for Alabama, which is something that they definitely needed this year. Glenn Schumann's name continues to be in the topics of conversation with a lot of these head coaching dominoes. And I think a lot of them are going to fall with depending on who takes this job. If someone takes the Alabama job, that school is going to open. and then so on and so forth. You get a lot of different pieces that are moving around. Glenn Schumann could be one of them. He's done a great job at Georgia. He obviously is set to become a head coach. A lot of people are putting him in that conversation. So it's only a matter of time. Personally, I think Marcus Freeman would be a good fit for Alabama. You get another defensive mind like Nick Saban. You bring him in from a program in Notre Dame where you have a little bit more restrictions in terms of academics, of getting guys on campus. Now you take that away and you give him access to incredible talent in a program that is already has a good foundation. I don't think, I mean, you lose some talent in the transfer portal for sure, but Marcus Freeman is I think he's going to be a great coach. I really like what he's doing at Notre Dame. And again, you kind of have the same thing with Dan Lanning. Is he a good coach? Is he going to be a long-term good coach? Because again, everybody's going to compare him to Nick Saban, but is he going to be able to have that long-term success? That's going to be the biggest question. And we've seen that he can recruit. We've seen that he can coach. He's a good defensive mind, great defensive mind, actually. And it's just a matter of, is Alabama willing to give him a shot? Now, two names that I don't know if I necessarily agree, but I'm going to put this on this list because it is intriguing. Jimbo Fisher might give you a little bit of a discount. The buyout that he got from Texas A&M has him set for life. I mean, he could have taken half of that and still be set for life, but he has a lot of money now because of that. So maybe Alabama and Jimbo can work out a deal where you're not paying him as much as you might some of these other coaches because there's no buyout now. At Texas A&M is taking care of that. And I think that you're looking at a coach that I think at times you've seen that he can get the job done, but you do need to see some changes. So part of that interview process would be, Jimbo, what is your philosophy going to be offensively? What are you going to do to help this offense be explosive? So that's probably the biggest thing there. But I think Jimbo is a good option for this team. Then finally, Bill O'Brien, a guy who's done some great things at Penn State. And I think that he's done some good things also at the NFL level. You've seen him have success. And I've seen his name float around with this quite a bit. I don't necessarily know how much Alabama fans want him back after 2 years ago, but I think that you're at least going to give him a shot, at least give him a call, see what that conversation looks like, how that ends up, and just go from there. It's a good job. Alabama's going to have plenty of options. It's just a matter of what's the most feasible, what's the most likely option. Because a guy like Bill O'Brien he's not going to be Nick Saban, but does he give you that transition guy where we talked about before? You're going to see maybe a step back, depending on how big in terms of success. So maybe he's that guy that gives them a step back. He knows that maybe he's going to be the fall guy, but then you reset expectations for that next coach where there's maybe a better buyout, you get a little bit more favorable financial situation, and then you can get back to winning national championships.